Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. We're talking about cash is a big pile of opportunities. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com. That's jareddillianmoney.com. Or you can follow me on the Twitter tubes at DailyDirtNap. And we're talking about asset allocation. You know, we talk a lot about asset allocation on this show because for a lot of people, their asset allocation is 100, 0. 100% stocks, 0% anything else. And a more conventional asset allocation is 80-20 or 60-40 or 70-30. I disapprove of all those. My favorite allocation is 35-65, 35% stocks, 65% bonds. But I think that is also incomplete because you have to have an allocation for cash. Cash is an asset class. Cash is part of your asset allocation. So how much cash should you have? And I think for the average person, I think anywhere from 5% to 20% is the right amount. So let's say you had $100,000 worth of stuff and you had $30,000 worth of stocks and $50,000 worth of bonds and $20,000 worth of cash. I think that is an acceptable ratio in your asset allocation. Now, I actually have more cash than that. What is my percentage in terms of cash? I mean, it's I don't know. I can't even really compute it right now, but it's pretty high. I have a lot of cash. And, you know, I talk about 35-65, but you should still have a lot of cash in reserve. And the reason is, among many reasons, what if the stock market dropped 25%? What if it crashed? I mean, that's what it went down in the crash of 1987. What if the stock market crashed 25%? By the way, the crash of 1987 was probably the biggest buying opportunity for stocks of all time. So if something like that happened, you would want to take advantage of it, which means you would need cash. And this is the part that people are missing. They're like, I need to be fully invested. I need to be fully invested. I need to be fully invested. If you're fully invested, if stocks go down 25%, then your portfolio goes down 25%, and you don't have any cash to buy more. That's why it's always good to have cash. But people, they can't wrap their tiny brains around this. So if you are one of these people, if you have, you know, a $100,000 portfolio and it's 100% stocks and 0% or whatever, but you don't have any cash, then I do recommend lightening up, selling some stocks, selling some bonds, and raising some cash. Or alternatively, you could just earn cash in the course of your daily work and save cash gradually because, you know, you don't really want to sell stuff because then you have a tax liability and all that stuff. So other opportunities, I mean, the stock market dropping 25% is a pretty good opportunity. Other opportunities are your brother-in-law starts a business, and he's not a knucklehead. It's actually a pretty good idea. It's a good opportunity, and he's asking for $50,000, and you're like, gosh, I wish I had $50,000 so I could take advantage of this opportunity. Now, you might have, you know, in terms of your net worth calculations, you might have $300,000 worth of stuff. You might have $300,000 in the stock market. So then you're sort of presented with this conundrum. Do I sell stocks to give money to my brother-in-law, or, you know, and trigger a tax liability, which could be substantial? What do I do? The tax issue is difficult. I mean, I'm actually in favor of paying taxes, but, you know, if you bought Apple at $15 and now it's at $300, that's going to be a lot of taxes, and you're going to have to pay it eventually, unless you die with Apple, which, you know, maybe you do. But, you know, you don't really want to trigger a tax liability for this. So if you want to start your own business, that's another reason you need cash. You can't start a business without cash. I started a business with cash. Actually, didn't take a lot of cash. I think the amount of cash that I invested in my business was $37,000. Wasn't a big investment. That was a long time ago. That was 2008. That was a long time ago. Wow. Yeah. But lots of people they're fully invested. I hate fully invested. The goal is to be fully invested. I'm fully invested. 100% stocks and no cash. Not even, some people have no cash, not even emergency cash. All stocks. Stocks. You should at least have $10,000 for emergency expenses, then cash on top of that. And people say the cash is not invested. It's not working for you. Garbage. People are such bad investors. First of all, like 30% of people shouldn't even be in the stock market. They should just be in the bank, like not stocks, the bank. Because if they were in the stock market, they would lose money. And people are such bad investors that they're just as likely to lose that money that they're such in a big hurry to put in the stock market. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have cash when opportunities come along. And I'll tell you a couple of my stories. I had the opportunity to invest in a hedge fund back in 2000, I think it was 2014. And these things always are like, it's a hurry. Like you have to hurry up to do this. I don't know why it's always the case. But I found out about the hedge fund, and they were closing their funding round, and I had to get the money in, and I had to come up with a lot of money, and I did it. I had the cash laying around, and it turned out not to be really a great investment. I did make money off of it, not a lot, and I got booted out of the fund for sort of complicated reasons. But yeah, I mean, I viewed it as a very important opportunity, and I had to scramble together money very quickly, and I had the cash, and I invested in the hedge fund. The house that I'm currently living in that I bought in 2015, I had the cash for a down payment just sitting around, and now I have my favorite house that I've ever owned in my entire life, So if you don't have cash, getting a house kind of turns into a high wire act. That's another reason to have cash laying around in case you want to buy a house. Actually, I should know this. I don't know all the rules, but what I should know, I mean, you should not be borrowing the down payment from other people, and I'm pretty sure the bank checks your bank accounts to make sure you're not borrowing the down payment from other people. Like the down payment has to come from you. So if you don't have cash, then this gets problematic, and then you're like doing, VA loans or FHA loans with 100% financing, and it's like I said, it's a high wire act. Or here's one. So you're living in a house, you own your house, and suddenly you need to move. So this is where it gets complicated because most people, if they have a house, they have a bunch of equity in the house they're living in, but they don't have cash. And they're going to move somewhere. They're going to buy another house, but they need cash to buy the second house, and they don't have it. So then it's like there's a bridge loan or it just gets really complicated or whatever. If you have cash, then you can own two houses at the same time. And a lot of people can't do that. That's like prohibitive for a lot of people, as they're just not in a position where they can own two houses at the same time. Now, owning two houses at the same time is not fun for a bunch of reasons. I mean, first of all, at least around here, if I owned two houses in South Carolina, then that's kind of foolish because we get hurricanes and I could lose them both. So that's number one. And I forget what number two is, but, well, it's not fun because, you're paying two mortgages at the same time. That is no fun. Go get a bunch of cash flying out the door. For half of people, not half, 30% of people, for 30% of people, if you just had cash in a bank account and nothing else, you would be better off. You would be better off. And I'm going to say that those people, that 30% of people, end up losing money on their investments consistently. They're destined to lose. They're genetically predisposed to losing money in the financial markets. And they will always lose money, and they are better off with cash. Earning zero is better than earning negative. One of the cool things about cash is that you can buy a house with it. You can actually pay all cash for a house. I remember the first time I heard about this, I was shopping for a house in New Jersey. We're driving around with the real estate agent, and the real estate agent was talking about these apartments and these high-rise buildings and how usually people pay cash. And I'm like, pay cash? What do you mean? She says, like, they don't get a mortgage. I'm like, you don't get a mortgage? Who has so much money that they don't get a mortgage on a house? And yes, there are people that have so much stinking money that they don't get a mortgage on a house. They just pay cash. And I've done that once in my life. And I paid off my mortgage recently, and I have no mortgage payment. So it's a lot easier living in a world without debt. Let me put it that way. You have cash. You want to buy a house, you buy a house. You don't even need insurance on a house that you pay with cash. You don't need an appraisal. You don't need an inspection. It's all on you. Have you ever paid? I actually have a question. If you want to call and tell me the story, I'd love to hear it. 844-305-7800. Have you ever paid cash for a car? And I don't mean like write a check. I mean actually have like stacks of hundreds. Have you ever paid for a car with cash? Walk up to the dealership with $40,000 in $100 bills. That I want to know. That would be. I want to do that once in my life. I want to pay for a car with stacks of cash. Pay for furniture with cash, pay for a mattress with cash, pay for clothes with cash, pay for groceries with cash, pay for everything with cash. Cash is the most powerful force in the world. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
Jared Dillian. Now you know a rich guy.